Good day, everyone. Good day, sir. And we're here to present our topic entitled Environmental and Animal Ethics, a moral reflection on human responsibility. So, this topic is very important, no, because it focuses on how human actions affect not only ourselves, but also to animals, the environment, and the future generations. In today's world, many environmental problems are caused by human activities, and these problems raise serious moral questions. So, this presentation will not only shows facts, but will also help us understand what is right and wrong when it comes to how we treat nature and living beings. And by the end of this report, we hope to show that ethical thinking is necessary in solving environmental issues. Next slide, please. So, human activities greatly affects animals, ecosystems, and future generations. And these impacts raise important ethical questions. Do humans have the right to use animals freely? Secondly, are we responsible for protecting future generations? Next is economic development worth environmental destruction? So this presentation examines these issues using ethical frameworks. So it's true, activities or actions such as industrialization, consumption, and resource extraction have a strong impact on our environment. And these actions affect animals, destroy the ecosystem, and of course can create a long-term problems that will be experienced by future generations. And because of this, we are faced with important ethical questions. First, do humans really have the right to use animals for food, clothing, and experiments without limits? Secondly, do we have a responsibility to protect the future, even if it means changing our lifestyle today? And third, is economic development worth it if it destroys our nature? So these questions are not easy to answer, but they're necessary to think about. In this presentation, we will use ethical frameworks to analyze these issues in a deeper and more meaningful way. Next slide, please. So this presentation focuses on five major ethical issues: veganism and animal cruelty, climate change and intergenerational, justice and environmental exploitation, first sustainability, next is mining and ecological destruction, next is plastic pollution and responsibility. And here we will focus on five major issues that are very relevant today, and these issues may seem different, but they're all connected by one thing: human actions and their consequences. Veganism and animal cruelty focuses on how we treat animals. Climate change show how actions today affect our future generations, while environmental exploitation and mining show how we use natural resources sometimes irresponsibly. And lastly, plastic pollution shows how everyday human behavior contributes to our global problem. And by understanding these issues together, we can better see the bigger picture of our environmental ethics. Next slide, please. So here we will analyze these issues using the following ethical frameworks. Utilitarianism focuses on consequences and overall happiness, while deontology focuses on duty and moral rules, while virtue ethics focuses on character and moral values, while justice theory focuses on fairness and equality. So to understand this issue deeply, we will use four ethical frameworks. Utilitarianism focuses on the result of actions and asks if the action produces the greater goods for the greatest number. Deontology focuses on moral duties and rules, meaning some actions are right or wrong regardless of the outcome. Virtue ethics focuses on the character of the person, asking what a good moral person would do. Lastly, justice theory focuses on fairness, especially in benefits the burdens are shared among people and generations. So these frameworks will guide us in analyzing each issue properly and fairly.
Good day, sir. I am Marini Ayuban, and I'm going to be tackling about veganism and animal cruelty. Factory farming causes suffering to billions of animals. Animals are treated as commodities. For ethical question, is it morally acceptable to use animals for food? One of the most debated ethical issues today is how humans treat animals. In factory farming, animals are often kept in small spaces, given poor living conditions, and treated only as products for human consumption. This situation raises an important ethical question. Is it morally right to use animals in this way? While animals provide food and other resources, we must also consider their ability to feel pain and suffering. This issue challenges us to reflect on whether our actions are based on necessity or simply convenience. For ethical analysis, we have utilitarianism. Veganism reduces suffering, morally good. Deontology, animals have rights. Cruelty is wrong. Virtue ethics, compassion supports humane treatment. For counterpoint, humans need nutrition and culture includes meat eating. So different ethical frameworks offer different perspectives on this issue. Utilitarianism suggests that if we can reduce suffering, then choosing veganism or reducing meat consumption is morally better. Deontology argues that animals may have rights and harming them is wrong, regardless of the benefits. Virtue ethics teaches us that a good person should show compassion and kindness to all living beings. However, there is also a counter-argument. Many people believe that eating meat is part of culture, tradition, and even survival. This shows that ethical decisions are not always simple and may involve balancing different values. For ethical conflict, we have agreement, cruelty should be reduced, disagreement, whether full veganism is required, ethical tension between survival, culture, and compassion. So most people agree that animal cruelty is wrong and should be reduced. However, there is still disagreement about whether people should completely stop using animals. This creates an ethical tension between human needs, culture practices, and compassion for animals. It shows that ethical decisions is require careful thinking, understanding of different perspectives. And that would be all. I will be passing to the next reporter.
So these slides I'll be tackling about the climate change reality. So what exactly is climate change? Climate change is one of the most serious problems in the world today. We are already experiencing its effects through the stronger typhoons, floods, droughts, and rising sea levels. So there are causes of climate change, which are the rising temperatures, stronger natural disasters, and sea level rise. So these changes are mainly caused by human activities such as burning fossil fuels, deforestation, and industrialization. While everyone is affected, not everyone suffers equally. Poor and vulnerable communities are often the most affected ones. Intergenerational justice. Intergenerational justice focuses on the fairness between present and future generation. The decision we make today will affect people who are not yet born. So they cannot make decisions or defend themselves because these future generations cannot speak or make choices today, yet they will face the consequences of our actions. This raises the strong ethical questions that do we have the responsibility to protect their future? So many believe that we do because fairness should not only apply to people today but also to those in the future. Ethical analysis. All ethical frameworks support the idea that we must act against climate change. Utilitarianism tells us to prevent long-term harm. Deontology reminds us that we have a duty not to harm others, including the future people. Virtue ethics encourages responsibility and care for the planet. Justice theory tells us that it is unfair for future generations to suffer because of our actions today. So this shows that climate action is not just a choice, but a moral responsibility.
Good day, everyone. So I'll be tackling the environmental exploitation. So when we say environmental exploitation, it happens when humans use natural resources too much, especially for economic purposes like profit and development. There are some common examples for environmental exploitation. First is the cutting down too many trees or deforestation, catching too many fish or overfishing, damaging land through farming or construction, and polluting water sources with waste from industries. So, while development can bring jobs or income and better infrastructure, it often comes with a cost. The environment is damaged, ecosystems are destroyed, and natural balance is disturbed. So, from this situation, it raises an important ethical question. Is it right to prioritize economic growth even if it harms the environment? So, we must understand that nature is not unlimited. there is a limit for everything. So if we continue to exploit it without control, future generations may no longer benefit from these resources. So next is the mining and ecological destruction. So mining is important for economic development and provides resources and jobs. But however, it can cause habitat destruction, soil erosion, water contamination, displacement of local communities. So the issue here is economic benefit worth in environmental and social damage. So, mining is one of the biggest examples of environmental exploitation. So, it plays a vital role in our society because it provides materials like metals, minerals that are used in construction, technology, and many industries. So, it also creates jobs and supports the economy. But however, mining also has a serious negative effects. It destroys habitats where animals live. It causes soil erosion that makes land unusable and pollutes water sources with toxic chemicals. So in many cases, local communities are forced to leave their homes because of mining operations. Because of this, there is a difficult question for that. So, is it right to continue mining if it causes long-term environmental damage and affects people's lives? So, I think that it is difficult because mining brings both benefits and harm. That is why we need ethical reasoning to guide our decisions. So let's go to slide 13, the ethical analysis. So first is the utilitarianism. So we must weigh economic benefits against environmental harm. So the next is the deontology. So we have the moral duty to protect our nature and the human communities. Next is the virtue ethics, where we are responsible for use of resources that shows good character while greed leads to harm. So justice theory, environmental damage often affects poor and vulnerable communities the most. So, by using ethical frameworks, it helps us better understand this issue because in utilitarianism, we ask whether mining produces more good than harm. While it provides jobs and materials, the long term damage to the environment and human health, it may weigh by these benefits. So in deontology, we focus on duty. So we have a moral obligation to protect the environment and respect the rights of the people, especially those who are directly affected. So destroying nature and displacing communities violates this duty. So in virtue ethics, we look at the character. So we are responsible and be a moral person because it uses resources wisely and avoids causing harm. And on the other hand, greed and carelessness leads to environmental destruction. So in justice theory, we consider fairness. It is often to the poor and vulnerable communities who suffer the most from mining activities. So even if they do not benefit from it, this creates environmental injustice. But overall, this ethical analysis shows that while mining may be necessary, but it must be done responsibly, sustainably, and with respect for both people and the environment.
My name is Rafael Imbaga, and I will discuss the continuation of our topic. So, plastic pollution is one of the global crises that affects both the environment and human life. Every day, millions of tons of plastic waste end up in our oceans, rivers, and landfills. Marine animals often mistake plastic for food, which leads to injury or death. Now, our entire ecosystems are damaged because plastic does not easily break down. And over time, plastics becomes microplastic, which are very small particles that can enter the human body through the food and water. This shows that plastic pollution is not just an environmental issue, but also a health and an ethical issue. And for the next slide, responsibility is shared by different groups. Just like plastic pollution is not caused by one group alone. As I've mentioned earlier, it is a shared responsibility. Producers or companies create large amounts of plastic products, often without taking responsibility for proper waste management. And consumers also play a role by continuously using one single-use plastic for convenience, even when there's an alternative. Governments are responsible for creating and enforcing laws, but in many cases, these policies are weak or not strictly implemented. And now let's proceed to the next slide. Using ethical frameworks help us understand why plastic pollution is morally wrong. So in this slide, it shows that utilitarianism shows that while plastic is convenient, its long-term harm to the environment and human health is much greater than its benefit. Deontology reminds us that we have a duty not to harm others, including the environment and to future generations, and improper plastic use violates these duty. Virtual ethics also teaches us that a responsible person avoids waste and plastic discipline. And overconsumption of plastic shows a lack of responsibility. And lastly, justice theory highlights that proper and coastal communities are often the most affected by plastic pollution, even if they are not the main contributors. So these create the unfairness and inequalities. And all the framework agrees that plastic pollution is a serious ethical issue that must be addressed. And for the next slide, all these ethical frameworks agree that environment harm is morally wrong. So when we compare the ethical framework, we can see that they all agree on one thing, which is that environment harm is morally wrong and must be addressed. However, they approach the issue differently. Utilitarianism looks at the overall consequences, while the deontology focuses on moral duties and rules, and true ethics focuses on becoming a good and responsible person, and justice theory focuses on fairness and equality, especially for vulnerable groups and future generations. Even if they have different approaches, they are all lead to the same conclusion. So we must take responsibility for our actions and protect the environment. And for the next slide, our group strongly believes that humans have a moral responsibility to protect all forms of life and the environment. We must also understand that our actions do not only affect us today, but also animals, ecosystems, and certain future generations. Ignoring these responsibilities will lead to greater harm in the future. Development is important for progress, but it should not come at the cost of destruction. There must be a balance between economic growth and environmental protection. True progress is not measured only by wealth or technology, but by how well we protect life and maintain harmony with nature. For the next slide, to solve these environmental and ethical issues, we must take action. First, reducing meat consumption can help lessen the animal suffering and environmental impact. Second, shifting to renewable energy can reduce climate change effects. And third, government must strictly regulate mining and industrial activities to prevent environmental damage. And fourth, reducing single-use plastic is one of the most simplest yet most effective actions individuals can take. And lastly, education is very, very important. People must be aware of these issues so they can make better decisions. These actions may seem small, but if we done together, they can create a big positive impact to our community. And for the last slide, ethics is not only about what we can do, but what we should do for life, nature, and future generations. So in conclusion, ethics teaches us that just because we are capable of doing something does not always mean it is the right thing to do. Our choices matter, and they have the consequences that go beyond our own lives. The environment, the animals, the future generations depend on this decision we make today. If we act with responsibility, compassion, and fairness, we can protect our planet and ensure a better future. But if we ignore these ethical responsibility, the damage may become irreversible. That is why ethical thinking is not an option. It is necessary for survival and for the well-being of all. Thank you for listening, and that would end our entire topic. Thank you.